Today we're working on my buddy Willard's 750 Triumph. This bike came in here having just received the new top end. Horrible, horrible. I don't recommend 360 grit on your glass to try and get away from a warped head. And so we got another head, rebuilt it, new valves, guides, springs. And I was able to get pistons, new 40 over pistons with rings, because for another couple bucks you get brand new pistons. I know these are brand new pistons, but we were wondering why at some point it looks like the valve kissed the piston. Oh shit. Is that going to happen to us? How are we going to figure out how that happened? We had all that shit apart. How did that shit happen? Well, how does anything happen in a pushrod motor? So, at first we thought maybe someone had the motor apart and had the cam timing, you know, tooth off or something. But it checked out all right, and then we're just kind of just leisurely poking around, and holy shit. I know my timing cover is going to keep that in there. And it seems like an awful lot of play to me. And I'm not an expert. I can't quote you valve angles at the drop of a hat, but I can figure it out with some information. But the biggest thing I have going for me is I have broken so many of these myself over the years. And I had a situation like this myself when I was sidecar racing. The nut had come loose on a recent rebuild and backed off. And upon looking at it, we realized that upon rebuild, they had never sucked the gear, really tightened up that nut right, and sucked the gear all the way onto the cam. And it had so much room to move around that at one point or another, it was pushing both of my push rods up at the same time and then moving back into position. I was like, what the hell was that? It's amazing when you're on a roller that's just two rods with a guy who had, maybe had a couple drinks, or maybe that's just how he is, in a van with his wheel on the roller and he's flooring it, and your shit's flailing around and you pop it and the motor spins around and you hear that sound, but magnified. You stop. That's what you do. So, we think we figured out what's going on with this. And we're not going to have a valve just kiss our piston. Did the valve bend? I don't know. We got a whole nother head. We got a whole nother head with new valves and guides because his shit was warped. And we'll take that valve out later and see if it's bent. But we think that warrants further investigation. Totally warrants further investigation. And we'll let you know what happens.